Welcome to the Deep Dive, your express route to cutting through the noise and getting truly well-informed. Today, we're diving into something that touches pretty much all of us. The fascinating journey from self-sabotage to genuine self-mastery.
That's right. And our main guide for this deep dive is Brianna Wiest's really insightful book, The Mountain Is You. What really struck me reading it is the core metaphor, that often the biggest challenges we face, they aren't really external obstacles at all. They're more internal issues. Like the book says, and it puts it so well, the mountain is often less a challenge in front of us as it is a problem within us.
I find that kind of freeing, actually. So our mission here for this deep dive is basically to pull out the most potent, maybe surprising insights from this material. We want to help you maybe pinpoint your own internal mountains and give you some practical ways to start moving forward. Try and simplify what feels like a really tangled, complex topic. Okay, so let's unpack this a bit. When we talk about self-sabotage, what are we really talking about? Because, on the surface, it can look like self-hatred maybe, or just a serious lack of willpower. But our sources, they reveal something almost counterintuitive.
Yeah, what's often misunderstood, I think, is that self-sabotage isn't really some kind of masochistic impulse to hurt ourselves. Instead, it's fundamentally about the presence of an unconscious need, a need that the self-sabotaging behavior is actually fulfilling.
Fulfilling? How so?
Well, it's like a maladaptive coping mechanism, kind of a misdirected survival strategy.
Yeah.
Think about Carl Jung's example from his childhood, the fainting spells. He unconsciously developed what he termed a neurosis, basically, an emotional issue causing distress as a way to avoid school, which he hated.
Okay.
So the fainting gave him an escape. He called it a substitute for legitimate suffering. The really surprising insight there is that this seemingly destructive behavior was serving a hidden purpose.
Okay, so if our actions, even the ones that seem destructive, are actually trying to meet some underlying need, how do we even start to figure out what those needs are? It sounds like we need to be, detectives of our own minds or something.
That's a great way to put it, detectives. Exactly. Overcoming self-sabotage, as the book explains it, it requires what it calls deep psychological excavation. Think of less like maybe formal therapy and more like an archaeological dig into your own inner world. It means finding those buried, maybe traumatic events, letting those unprocessed emotions come up. And then, this is the crucial part, finding healthier, more adaptive ways to meet those same underlying needs. It's not just about willpower, It's about understanding the roots.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay, so let's dig into those roots then, the foundational reasons. Our sources seem to highlight, 3 key origins for self-sabotage?
That's right, 3 main areas. First, it often comes from irrational fears. And these aren't always the obvious logical fears. They're more like long-held, maybe unexamined anxieties, perhaps a deep worry about being seen as unintelligent, or a real fear of losing your job.
Okay.
Now, the fascinating twist here, according to the book, is because it can feel too scary to consciously focus on a real fear, we sometimes project those feelings onto things that are much less likely to happen.
Like a distraction.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It becomes a safe thing to worry about. It lets us express the feeling, the anxiety, without confronting the core issue directly. The book uses this great analogy like trying to rip off a Band-Aid before you have a plan to actually heal the wound underneath. You're just dealing with the surface.
Right, sort of a smokescreen for the real problem. Okay, that's one root. What's another common one?
Precisely. The second big origin is what the book calls unconscious negative associations. Basically, the stories we tell ourselves, our inner narratives, they're often really outdated. We're just plain wrong. They get built up from childhood influences, beliefs from parents, maybe things peers said, early personal experiences. Like if you grew up hearing negative things about wealthy people, you might unconsciously resist getting ahead financially, even if consciously you really want that stability.
Wow, yeah.
The insight is that your subconscious is still running on that old, maybe faulty script. The book gives other examples too, like associating being healthy with being vulnerable, maybe because a healthy parent got sick suddenly. Or even using pessimism, like complaining, as an unconscious way to connect with people.
That's powerful, the idea of outdated scripts still running the show. Okay, what's the third root cause you mentioned?
The third one is rooted in unfamiliarity. It's often talked about as hitting your upper limit. Basically, we humans, we have this powerful, natural resistance to the unknown, even if the unknown is something positive or good for us.
Right.
And this is where we make a mistake. We confuse the discomfort of something new with it being inherently wrong or bad. Psychologist Gay Hendricks talks about this a lot. Our upper limit, our subconscious tolerance for feeling good, for happiness or success.
Tolerance for happiness.
Yeah. So when we go past that personal capacity, we unconsciously do things to sabotage the situation, just to get back to what feels familiar and, well, comfortable. Because the brain, you see, has this homeostatic impulse. It's a powerful drive to keep things consistent internally. It's wired for comfort, for what it knows, not necessarily for maximum happiness.
That is incredibly insightful. I think, we've all felt that maybe things get too good and you're sort of waiting for the other shoe to drop, or maybe even help it drop, which brings us to the next point, really. How do you know? How do you know if you're actually stuck in one of these cycles? The book outlines several common patterns, right?
Yeah. This is where we start seeing the symptoms, the outward signs. One really common sign is resistance. You know that feeling? Unable to start a new project, or suddenly pulling back from a really good relationship, or just feeling this weird tension around a new business idea. The surprising thing is, this isn't always just procrastination. It can be your unconscious mind basically hitting the brakes, running a safety check.
So it's not necessarily laziness. It could be a protective thing gone wrong.
Often, yeah. A maladaptive protection. Then there's uprooting. You see people who constantly need a fresh start. New relationship, new city, new job.
Always moving on.
Exactly. Before things can really take root or reach a proper conclusion. And the hidden cost there, you never let things fully blossom, you never really finish chapters. We also see perfectionism. Now this one's tricky because it looks like a good thing, right?
Totally.
But often, it's not about genuinely striving for excellence. It's more like a brilliant disguise for the fear of failure, or maybe fear of vulnerability. It tricks us into thinking we're aiming high when really we're just stuck, standing still. The core message of the book gives here is something like, don't worry about doing it well, just do it. Just get started.
That shift from perfect to just doing, that feels huge. Are there other signs we should be aware of?
Definitely. A lack of emotional processing skills is a big one. This can show up as avoiding risks that could actually improve your life, simply because you feel like you don't have the tools to handle the discomfort if things go wrong. Or you might get stuck just dwelling on emotions like anger or sadness because you haven't really learned how to feel them and let them move through you.
Right, getting stuck in the feeling.
Yeah. Then there's justification. This is basically using excuses as replacements for actual accomplishments. You spend more energy explaining why you didn't do something than actually doing it. And the source reminds us, life is ultimately measured by outcomes, not just our intentions, however good they are.
Oof, yeah, I think we can all relate to that one. The endless reasons, why not? What else?
Disorganization can be another symptom. And it's not just about having a messy desk, though it can be. It can be a more deliberate, maybe subconscious, creation of distractions and chaos. Why? To avoid the deeper work, or avoid showing up as the person you really want to be. A messy space keeps you perpetually feeling like you're just a few tasks away from actually starting the important thing.
A buffer zone.
Kind of, yeah. And sometimes self-sabotage shows up as an attachment to what you don't really want. Maybe you're chasing goals you picked up from your family or society, or ambitions you've honestly just outgrown. In this case, the sabotage might actually be a signal from your deeper self, saying, hey, you're on the wrong track here.
Wow, that's a really powerful reframe, that the sabotage itself could be a compass, pointing you away from the wrong path. What stands out most to you from all of that? For me, it's really making you consider, are you more aware of what you don't want than what you do? Are you maybe chasing goals without really asking yourself why you want them? Those seem like key indicators.
That's a crucial question to ask yourself, absolutely. And this leads us right into the next really important point. Just understanding all this, it's not enough to break free. Action is essential, even when it feels incredibly uncomfortable. Because when you start to stop the self-sabotaging patterns, those old repressed emotions you weren't even aware of, they're going to start bubbling up.
Right.
And the key isn't to just, grit your teeth and push through that resistance blindly. It's to actually get curious. Ask, why is this resistance here? And then connect that understanding back to your bigger vision, what you truly want. Allow those feelings, anger, sadness, feeling inadequate, whatever it is, allow them to rise up, observe them without judging yourself, and then find healthy ways to process them. Writing, crying, moving your body, talking it out. And critically, you have to learn to disconnect action from feeling. This is huge. You are perfectly capable of taking the action even if you don't feel like it. Our feelings, they're often part of our comfort system, right? Wired for familiarity, not always wired for what's truly best for our growth or our goals,
Right.
as the book puts it quite bluntly. You simply do not feel willing because you are not used to it. That's the core insight there. It's about unfamiliarity, not inability.
That is a massive mindset shift. It's not about waiting for motivation to strike.
Exactly. Motivation follows action, often, not the other way around. And remember, the real path to change, it happens through microshifts, not these giant singular breakthroughs, that, mind-blowing singular breakthrough moment. It's rare, and it's usually not what genuinely changes your life long term. Instead, it's the consistent, small, almost invisible steps that build real, lasting momentum. Could be just 10 minutes of exercise, reading one page of a book, small things, done consistently.
Microshifts, I like that.
And your brain, interestingly, is also described as anti-fragile, which means it doesn't just tolerate tension and adversity, it actually needs it to grow stronger, more creative, more resilient. So don't fear discomfort. Try to see it as a catalyst, something that sparks transformation.
That's a really powerful way to look at discomfort. But, okay, here's a tricky one. How do we tell the difference between a helpful internal signal, like a true gut instinct, and those thoughts that are actually self-sabotaging, driven by fear? That feels like a really subtle but vital distinction.
That's a brilliant question, and it is tricky. True gut instinct, according to the source, generally operates in the present moment, right now. It's usually quiet, it feels subtle, and it's a direct response to what is actually happening now, like feeling genuinely drained and heavy after talking to a certain person. That's probably instinct. It tends to gently move you towards what you're meant to do. It guides you.
Okay, quiet, present moment.
Right. In stark contrast, fear and those intrusive thoughts, they tend to feel hectic, loud, irrational, often random, but incredibly persistent. They induce panic, and they're usually about the future, what might happen, or based on assumptions, not present reality. The book says they close your heart and make you feel stuck.
Stuck, yeah, that resonates.
So a really practical tip the book offers is to ask yourself this: are my feelings about what's happening right now, in this moment, or are they about what I imagine will happen later? That question alone can often cut through the noise and give you clarity.
That is such a helpful filtering question. Wow, this whole deep dive, it really makes it clear that so much of self-sabotage is tied up with, well, maybe underdeveloped emotional intelligence. So how do we actively build that skill?
Yeah, emotional intelligence is key. And fundamentally, it's the ability to understand, interpret, and then respond to your own emotions in an enlightened, healthy way. It's about learning to read the signals your body is sending you through physical sensations. Now, here's something really counterintuitive the book highlights. Your brain is actually designed, in a way, to resist what you truly want.
Wait.
Well, instinctively, your brain knows that achieving big goals, making significant changes, often means more challenges, more unknowns, not just coasting. There's more potential for things to go wrong, right? So this can lead to your subconscious, without you even realizing it, kind of vilifying the very things you consciously desire, because achieving them feels unsafe in a way.
So our own brain can be our biggest internal obstacle sometimes.
In a way, yes. Because of that homeostatic impulse we talked about, that drive to maintain a stable, comfortable internal state. Your brain is constantly filtering information, looking for evidence that confirms your existing beliefs, pushing thoughts that mirror your past behaviors. Your subconscious acts like a gatekeeper, basically.
Keeping things normal.
Exactly. Which is why change, even really positive change, feels uncomfortable, maybe even anxiety-provoking, until it becomes the new familiar. We often experience adjustment shock with good things happening, a new job, a great relationship. They can actually cause anxiety or irritability precisely because they disrupt our old comfort zone. Our minds go on high alert, fearing loss. The way through that is just slowly, patiently acclimating to the new normal, maybe consciously building new skills to support it. Another really critical cognitive trap to be aware of is believing that psychic thinking is wisdom. This is a cognitive distortion where we assume we know what other people are thinking, or we try to predict the future based purely on strong feelings.
Oh, I think we all do that sometimes.
We do. It includes things like confirmation bias, only noticing information that supports what we already believe, and extrapolation, taking how things are right now and projecting that indefinitely into the future, good or bad. And spotlighting that mistaken belief that everyone is intensely focused on us and judging our flaws.
Right, like you're the main character in everyone else's movie. Okay. What about anxiety itself? How does that fit into this picture of emotional intelligence?
Well, often the book suggests anxiety is actually a kind of logical lapse. It comes from underthinking, not overthinking. We don't fully think through the scenario. We don't consider how we would actually cope if the feared outcome did happen. This is partly why exposure therapy can be so effective. It forces you to confront the fear and proves to your brain that you can handle it.
That's interesting. Underthinking, not overthinking.
Yeah. We also tend to make faulty inferences, drawing false conclusions from evidence that might be valid. Things like hasty generalizations, false dichotomies, it's either this or that, no middle ground, slippery slope arguments. Just being aware that we do this is the crucial first step to correcting it. And finally, it's important to remember that worrying is actually a very weak defense system. It feels like you're doing something, preparing for the worst, but it mostly just drains your energy and offers no real protection. True safety comes from developing inner resources, self-belief, preparedness, resilience.
It really sounds like so many of these emotional intelligence challenges boil down to how we relate to discomfort, doesn't it? So this brings us back to the past. How do we truly let go of what holds us back? The book suggests it's not about just ignoring it, but integrating it somehow, letting it fade by building something new.
Exactly. You can't really force the process of letting go. It's not an act of sheer willpower, like, okay, I'm letting go now. Instead, the approach the book suggests is to focus on building a new life right now that is so immersive, so compelling, so aligned with who you want to be, that the past gradually, naturally just fades into the background. It loses its emotional charge.
Building a better present crowds out the past.
Kind of, yeah. There's also a really interesting psychological trick to release old experiences. You consciously re-enter the difficult memory in your mind. Then you identify the feeling it creates in your body. Where do you feel it? And then you superimpose a narrative from your healed, wise future self onto your younger self in that memory. Imagine your future self comforting your past self, telling them it's okay, explaining how things turn out. This can powerfully shift your perspective on the memory and release that old attachment.
That sounds like a really unique and empowering technique. What about recovering from actual trauma? That feels different.
It is, and it requires care. When it comes to recovering from emotional trauma, the book emphasizes understanding that trauma is fundamentally physical. It gets stored in the body, in the nervous system. It disconnects you from that basic feeling of safety in the world. So the core insight for healing is to reestablish a sense of safety in the exact area where the trauma occurred.
The exact area.
Yes. So if relationships were the source of trauma, the path involves carefully, intentionally building healthy, safe relationships now. If it was financial insecurity, the focus is on building stability, saving, creating a secure foundation now. You don't just try to overcompensate in some unrelated area of life. You gently, courageously face the original wound and rebuild safety right there. And to release that emotional backlog, all those feelings we stuffed down, we need to recognize that emotions are like messages. They need to be opened, acknowledged, and processed. If we don't, they get stuck, creating tension in the body.
So how do we open them?
Practical strategies include things like meditating, not just to become calm, but specifically to feel whatever is present without judgment. Allowing yourself to cry if tears come up, or to sweat, or move your body. Physical release is important. Recognizing that true emotional health isn't about being happy all the time. It's about allowing the full spectrum of human emotions to flow through you.
That's a great reminder that healing isn't always comfortable, is it? But it's necessary.
Absolutely necessary. And part of this is also letting go of unrealistic expectations about ourselves. True healing isn't about fixing every single flaw until you're finally perfect and then you can be happy. No, it's about showing up exactly as you are in this present moment, imperfections and all. The discomfort we feel about our imperfections, the book argues, that is often the true problem, not the imperfections themselves. And finally, there's this powerful idea. What leaves the path is clearing the path. Anything, a job, a relationship, a situation that isn't truly right for you will eventually fall away somehow. Our desperate attachment to keeping those things is often born out of fear of the unknown, not genuine desire for that specific thing. Ultimately, the book says you are the one who eventually lets go. Even if it feels like something's being taken from you, on a deeper level, you are choosing alignment.
Wow. Okay, so let's say you've done this deep work, you're understanding, you're releasing the past. Now what? How do we actively build that new present and future, one that's truly aligned?
Right, building forward. The book introduces a really powerful visualization technique here, kind of like the opposite of inner child work. It calls it meeting your highest potential future self. You vividly imagine your ideal future self. What do they look like? How do they carry themselves? What are they doing? How do they feel? Then, you mentally ask this future self for guidance on your current challenges. The idea is to help you sort of merge with that future version, to let that vision inform your choices right now.
That sounds powerful, like accessing your own future wisdom.
It can be. Another key step is adopting your own principles. This means moving beyond just fleeting inspiration or motivation and grounding yourself in fundamental truths that govern how life works, cause and effect, basically. For instance, a core money principle might be live beneath your means. A relationship principle could be don't rely on others for your core sense of self-worth. These principles, the book admits, might seem kind of boring compared to big, exciting goals, but they are the absolute bedrock for long-term, sustainable thriving.
That makes sense. A solid foundation. And what about finding purpose? That feels like a big piece of building a new future.
It is huge. Finding your true purpose is described in the book as finding that sweet spot, the intersection of your unique skills, your genuine interests, and what the world actually needs. Your own life experiences, even the difficult ones, become a kind of blueprint for this. Interestingly, the book suggests purpose is often discovered through hardship because adversity forces us into action, forces self-reflection, and reveals hidden strengths.
So the challenges can actually point the way.
Exactly. To help uncover it, you can ask yourself questions like, what's truly worth suffering for me? What activities make me feel alive and come naturally? What would my ideal daily routine look like, realistically? And what kind of legacy do I genuinely want to leave behind? Ultimately, all this inner work, all this building, it culminates in becoming your most powerful self. And to embody that, the book suggests you need to envision that version of yourself clearly. Then, be willing to be aware of your weaknesses without letting them define you. Be willing to be disliked sometimes for living authentically. Act consistently on your purpose. And crucially, commit to constant inner work, always processing triggers as they arise, always learning, always evolving.
This really does all lead towards the ultimate goal, doesn't it? Moving beyond just coping or managing into true self-mastery and actually deeply enjoying your life.
That really is the summit of the mountain, yes. And it involves some subtle but profound shifts. For instance, understanding the difference between controlling versus suppressing emotions. True mental strength isn't about being happy-go-lucky all the time or denying uncomfortable feelings. It's about moving through life with fluidity and reason, making conscious choices about your behavior while acknowledging your feelings. It's awareness and choice, not denial.
Okay, conscious choice.
It's also about learning to trust yourself again. Finding that deep inner peace, which the book describes as an internal knowing that fundamentally everything is okay. Like an invincible summer within you, regardless of external weather. It's presented as our natural state, something we return to when we quiet the monkey mind, the constant chatter, and just allow feelings to arise and pass without clinging to them. This naturally leads to creating aligned goals, where you prioritize that inner peace over the more fickle pursuit of happiness, which is often dependent on external things going right. Inner peace, the source argues, is the true happiness. It also strongly emphasizes arriving in the present moment, because anxiety is fundamentally living in the future, worrying about what might happen. Depression is often living in the past, ruminating on what went wrong. Happiness, genuine contentment, exists only in the infinite now. So the practice is always to bring your focus back to today, to this moment.
That simplicity is often the hardest part, isn't it? Just being here now.
It absolutely can be. It's a lifelong practice. The book also suggests actively cultivating well-being by consciously leaning into the small joys, watching a sunrise, really savoring your coffee, appreciating a connection, nurturing positive relationships, focusing on quality over quantity, continuously learning new things to keep your mind engaged, and reframing challenges not as roadblocks, but as opportunities for transformation and growth.
Seeing challenges as opportunities, that's key.
Very key. And being incredibly aware of what you give your energy to. Your thoughts, the book uses this analogy, are like feeding wolves. Whichever wolf you feed, the fearful thoughts, the positive thoughts, that's the one that grows stronger. So be really mindful, really careful about what you allow yourself to dwell on, because your thoughts shape your feelings, which shape your beliefs, which drive your behaviors. And finally, maybe counterintuitively in our busy world, don't forget to schedule time for nothing and time for play, actual downtime. True enjoyment requires allowing space, embracing childlike curiosity, imagination, just being. When you truly become a master of yourself, you take what the book called radical responsibility for your life. You recognize that discomfort isn't something to avoid at all costs. It's a gift, showing you where untapped potential lies. And you consistently choose action, guided by your principles, over being paralyzed by fear. In the end, as the book so powerfully reminds us, it is not the mountain out there that you must master, but yourself. This whole profound journey from self-sabotage to self-mastery, it's really about claiming your innate power to create the life you truly desire from the inside out.
Wow. This deep dive, it's really shown us that the path to freedom, it isn't about avoiding discomfort at all, is it? It's about understanding its messages, listening to them, and then choosing to respond with intention, with purpose. So thinking about everything we've discussed, what's maybe one microshift, just one small thing you listening can make today? Something to honor your principles maybe, and take one step towards becoming that most powerful version of yourself. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into transforming self-sabotage. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those right questions.